Good evening, everybody. I hope so. You all are keeping very fine. So, in this series of that of food microbiology, in which we are discussing about that of various different kind of bacteria and like their toxins, their infectivities, their symptoms, the kind of the diseases that they're causing, and all the detailed things itself, detailed stuffings. Today we had brought two more important groups of that of the I would say that the microbe, okay, which are found to cause very important groups of that of the diseases itself. Okay, like the first group which we are representing it as that of the Bacillus group itself. Okay, and the second group which we are representing it as that of the Aspergillus. These two are the major kind of the groups which we are going to discuss it today. We are going to focus on that of what we are going to focus on that of I would say that like what is the structural nature of that of the Bacillus, like how does that what kind of diseases like the Aspergillus it can cause, what is its structure, the basic toxins, and the other relevant details itself. These things we are going to discuss over here in this case. Okay, fine. So let's start. Now we will be first of all we'll be starting with that of our part which we are representing it as that of the bacterium belonging to the genera Bacillus. Now do remember one thing, the Bacillus, the genera which is present over here, this genera we are representing it as that of the word it stands for that of the rod. That is a rod shaped kind of that of the bacterium itself. This is a bacterium, it's a prokaryotic cell, and the meaning of that of the Bacillus which is remaining present over here, it means that of the rod shaped kind of that of the structure. Now, dear students, you have to remember one thing importantly, that this Bacillus, this genera, it is very much capable enough to form that of a very important kind of that of the structure which we are representing it as that of the endospores itself. Now, what are these kind of that of the spores? Do you remember endospores are actually what? Endospores are the kind of that of the spores which are actually, we can say that these are the protective kind of that of the spores itself. Whenever these kind of that are the bacterium, okay, whenever the prokaryotic cells they are facing any kind of abnormal environmental condition which is unnatural to them, which is non-suitable to them itself, okay, they used to do what? They used to show the formation of that of the endospores itself. They used to show the formation of that of the endospore. Now these endospores, they are highly resistant structure, they are a highly resistant structures which are remaining present, and these highly resistant structures which are remaining present itself, they are actually what? They can help or they can prevent that of the bacterium to survive any kind of that of the antibiotic attack or any kind of the further attack. Also it will be helping it to survive itself. So you have to remember one thing, student, that this is a kind of that of the genera which is consisting of or which is possessing the capability to form that of the endospores itself. And even to remember, throughout the world, these endospores are what actually? These endospores are actually the most, I would say, that resistant kind of that of the structure. So much so resistant that even they can be like easily protected or they can easily resist the antibiotic attacks also. So you can think that if all the prokaryotes are capable enough to show that of the Bacillus kind of to show that of the endospore kind of that of the structure, it would have been very difficult for us to get cured from that of any kind of that of the microbial attacks itself. Hope so this is clear to you. So we'll see some of the features. Bacillus, as we had already said, that this is actually a rod-shaped bacterium which is gram positive in nature. Okay, and spore forming rods, as I said you, that it is capable of that of forming the endospores itself. Okay, and the importantly, these bacterium, they are facultative anaerobe. Now do remember one thing, that Bacillus, it can show both facultatively anaerobe as well as that of aerobic form of that of the bacterium itself or aerobic forms itself. Okay, so now if we are saying like here in Bacillus itself, there can be many different types like Bacillus anthracis, Bacillus cereus, and other. Okay, now we are talking over here about that of the kind of the bacterium which is responsible to cause the kind of that of the food poisoning, especially associated with that of like cooked rice, the fried rice, and in all these kind of which are been not been consumed for longer time period itself. And these, like the bacterium which is associated with that of these kind of that of the food poisoning, those bacterium we are representing it as that of the Bacillus cereus. Now this Bacillus cereus is what? It is always actually a facultative anaerobe. It is always the facultative anaerobe itself. It's not an aerobic one. It is a facultative anaerobe, a motile kind of that of the bacterium itself, which is gram positive as well as a spore forming structure. Now within that one, it is possessing the vegetative cells, their body cells. They do possess a very larger body cells within that of their own structures itself. And they can easily grow temperature, I would say that ranging from that of 8 to 55 degrees itself. And if let's say that if they are capable enough of forming that of the endospore, in that case they will be capable enough of forming, I would say that, like of sustaining like higher range of that of the temperatures also. Okay, even in some experimentations it has been also observed that some of the Bacillus species itself, in that case they are capable enough like to persist, or they are capable enough to show that of their spores, they can, it is remaining or it is thriving at a temperature of that of 429 degrees Celsius itself approximately. Okay, after that of the 429 degrees Celsius itself also, their endospores, they can easily thrive over here itself as such. Okay, so they can tolerate a very high level of temperature with respect to that of the endospore itself in that case. Okay, so if I'm saying about the same, the optimum temperature range, it is always 28 to 35 degrees Celsius in which they will be growing. Along with that, the pH, it is also 5 to 6. pH, it is also 5 to 6 itself, and it can be easily like transmitted via that of feces. Okay, the defecator to that of the soil, the water, the foods, the feeds, to any other that of the animals itself. Okay, do you remember, like they can easily get contaminated throughout that of the part itself via that of the excreta as well as that of the soil, the water, to that of the other individuals itself, to that of the other organisms itself. It can easily spread over here. Okay, and most importantly, it is associated with that of like those kind of that of the foods, the stale foods which have been kept for longer time period, especially like that of the rice, the cooked rice, the fried rice, and all these things itself which have been kept for that of the longer time period itself. Okay, so if I'm saying some of the more features, like where these bacillus they can be found, generally we can say that the habitat of that of the bacillus, it is in that of the soil. Okay, or it can be found in that of the water also. Even some of the bacillus, the kind of the bacterium, they are also found to remain present within that of the marine sponges, that is a poriferan groups itself also. Okay, they are actually showing their spores, they are central spores, as I said you, endospores. Now generally endospores are what? These spores are getting formed inside of the body structure of the bacillus itself. So for that reason I'm saying over here as that of the centralized kind of the structure. And these centralized kind of the structure, they are what? They are actually ellipsoidal in that of its nature. They are actually ellipsoidal in that of the nature. It means they are having a complete oval kind of the structure itself, and they do not cause any kind of swelling in the sporangium. Okay, what is that sporangium? The sporangium is that of their complete outer layer itself, or that of the outer cell itself, where it is remaining found. Now these bacterium, they are widely distributed. Generally these bacterium, they are widely distributed, as I said you, from that of the soil, the water, and that of the vegetation. Vegetation means the spoiled vegetation that you can say, or that of the rotten vegetation that you can say. Even like not only rotten vegetation, even in that of the fresh vegetations also we can see the presence of the bacillus also. Okay, so these are spore forming, we already came to know, and they are having variable heat resistance because they form the endospores itself. So now these bacillus, they are capable enough of forming two major types of that of the syndromes itself. They are capable enough of forming two major types of that of the syndromes itself. Okay, and those two syndromes are of these two types. The first one, it is the diarrheal syndrome, and the second one, it is the emetic syndrome. Okay, the first one is the diarrheal syndrome, and the second one is that of the emetic syndrome itself. Now, what are these two? Diarrheal syndrome means what is happening? Watery like stool passing will be there, and like occasionally nausea will be occurring. Like I would say that, and the food products which are remaining associated, it is the meat products itself, the soups, the vegetables, puddings, milk products. In all these things, we can see the presence of the Bacillus cereus itself and the diarrheal kind of the syndrome itself, which is occurring over here accordingly. Okay. So if I'm saying about that of the emetic syndrome, now in terms of that of the, I would say that like emetic syndromes, if I'm saying about the same itself, like it is showing nauseatic part itself, vomiting part, or that of the diarrhea itself. And as I said you that this kind of the syndrome, it is generally remaining associated with that of like rice kind of the items. What are those rice kind of the items? The fried as well as that of the cooked rice, the pasta, the pastry, as well as that of the noodles itself. Okay, in this thing they can remain present itself. That thing we are representing it as that of the emetic kind of the syndrome itself. Okay, so if we are saying the like that of the aspergillus part itself in that case, okay, now that is all about that of the like the bacillus itself. And bacillus, why it is becoming more dangerous? Because bacillus, it is like forming, it is capable enough to form the endospore, and as because it is capable enough to form the endospore, so for that reason we can say that it becomes more amount of the dangerous itself in that case. Okay, so now if I'm saying about that of the emetic syndrome, now I would say that the next group of that of the organism, the aspergillus. Now students, you have to remember one thing, that this aspergillus, it is actually what? Aspergillus, it is actually a fungi. It is actually a fungi. Okay, and this group of the fungi, it is belonging to that of the special group which we are representing it as the Ascomycetes, or we are also representing it as the sac fungi itself, or we are also representing the same as the sac fungi itself. That is the aspergillus itself. Okay, so now aspergillus, there are lots of the kind of the other species which are remaining present within the aspergillus itself, and all these kind of the other species, they can cause different kind of the other disorders itself in that case itself accordingly. Okay, like these are known as the kind of the disorders which aspergillus can cause. These kind of the disorders, we are representing it as the aspergillosis itself in that case. Okay, so we will see some of the features of aspergillus. So they can show oligotrophy. That means for their structure, okay, their temperature range as well as their growth temperature range itself, it can occur. I would say that it will be occurring, we can say that in a short variable range itself in that case. So for that reason, we can say that they will show oligotrophy itself in that case accordingly. Okay, so I would say that, as I said you earlier also, that these are actually the Ascomycetes group. So we can say that these kind of the fungus, they are that of the conidial group of the fungus itself. Why conidial group of the fungus? Because what we are saying, these we are saying them as they are forming the specialized kind of the structure which we are representing it as the conidia. Okay, they are forming the specialized kind of the structure which we are representing it as the conidia itself. Okay, now what is this conidia? Conidia is a specialized group of the spores itself which is found in the Ascomycetes group, in which we can say there are lots of conidiospores which are remaining present, like which are growing just above that of what, which are growing just above that of the this complete structures itself. Whatever these structures are remaining present over these complete structures, they are completely growing. So that thing we are representing them as the conidia itself in that case. Okay, so these kind of the spore, the Ascomycetes itself, it is specialized in order to show that of the conidiospore or that of the conidium presence itself in that case. And conidia formation means that they are showing the asexual mode of reproduction, or they are the asexual group of the fungus which is remaining present. Okay, now you have to remember that this kind of the genus, they are having a special property of like thriving in that of higher range of the osmotic pressure. They can thrive within the higher range of the osmotic pressure itself. In that, they can easily thrive within of these conditions itself. And they are aerobic one. Okay, they are aerobic one itself, and they can be found in almost all oxygen rich environments. These are aerobic one, they can be found in almost all kind of the oxygen rich kind of the environments itself. Okay. And I would say that oxygen rich environment, because I would say that they are aerobic, they are obligate and aerobic itself. Okay. Most importantly, if I'm saying aspergillus infection, it can be easily found in that of like starchy kind of the foods itself, like you can say bread, potatoes, and it can grow in many like plants as well as trees also. But when we are talking about the food poisoning, they are the common contaminants of the starchy foods, the bread, the potatoes, and all these kind of the substances. These are comprised of that of about 37 species of that of the fungus which is remaining present over here accordingly. Okay. So now if I'm saying like there are approximately, I would say that 24 to 50 species of aspergillus, about which 64% we are not having, we are not knowing any kind of sexual state. And these group of the fungus, they can easily be placed within that of the deuteromycetes group or the fungi imperfecti group itself. Now, among this genera, the major carcinogenic producing group, it is this Aspergillus flavus. Okay, the major carcinogenic producing group, and that kind of toxin, the special toxin, we are representing it as the aflatoxins itself. These are the special group of the toxin which I am representing it as the aflatoxin itself in that case. So why I am saying it as the aflatoxin? Because over here the aspergillus and flavus, these two words, they are coming over here itself. And when we are saying about the aspergillus and flavus, and from there I would say that the toxins are being generated. And these kind of the toxins, they are the specialized carcinogenic group of the toxins which are remaining present. So now we'll see something about the aspergillus toxins also. If I'm saying the aflatoxins, now these aflatoxins are what? Aflatoxins, they are highly toxic as well as carcinogenic. Okay. And they can cause like any kind of food sources, and their contamination they can cause easily. They can lead to that of serious health consequences, because these are like the oncogenic in nature, carcinogenic in nature, or oncogenic in nature itself. So obviously we can say that they are what? They can lead to that of serious health consequences itself in that case. Okay. And if I'm saying about that of the association with that of the food itself, if I'm saying about that of their association with that of the food itself, we can say aspergillus is associated with that of different kind of that of the food groups, such as the groundnuts, the millets, the sesame seeds itself, the maize, wheat, and all these things itself, especially during the pre and the post harvest conditions itself. And the commercial products, like we can say that the peanut butter, the cooking oil, the cosmetics, and all these things, they can also be contaminated by that of the aflatoxins itself in that case accordingly. Okay. And even a low concentration of that of like aflatoxins, they can also be causing that of the disease itself in that case, or that of the disease causing part itself over here, because they are the oncogenic in that of their nature itself. Okay, students. So now what can be the symptoms of the aspergillus? Now aspergillus, it can cause various different kind of the allergic kind of the immune responses itself, or allergic kind of the disorders itself, among which I had taken up 3 different kind of the symptoms over here. The first one, it is the allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, okay, and which is showing that of wheezing, then shortness of breath, then cough, and the fever itself. Okay, we are representing it as ABPA. Then fungus ball and aspergillus sinusitis, we are representing it as stuffiness, runny nose, headache, and it is having the reduced ability to that of the smell itself. Okay, so cough, coughing of blood, shortness of that of the breath, all these things, they can easily occur within that of these kind of the group itself. So we can say allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, ABPA. This will be the common kind of the part, and aspergilloma, that is a fungus ball, aspergillus sinusitis. These things are that of the common kind of the infections which are remaining present over here itself. Okay, students. So this is all about, there are 2 important vital microbes, that is the Bacillus as well as the aspergillosis itself, or the aspergillus itself. Okay. Now Bacillus, as I said you that why it is more dangerous, because it is I would say that more important to cause that of what, more importantly it is causing, or it can form that of the like endospores itself. And if I'm saying about that of the aspergillus itself, why it is much more dangerous, because aspergillus, it can cause that of what, aspergillus, it can cause, I would say that all these kind of that of the allergic responses, like bronchopulmonary responses, like aspergilloma, like all these things, like stuffy nose, the stuffiness, the runny nose, the headache, and all the reduced ability to that of the smell itself, and all these kind of the phenomena, it can get easily occurred by due to that of the aspergillus itself. And all these diseases which have been caused by that of the aspergillus, we are representing them as that of the aspergillosis itself in that case. Okay, students. So that is all about today. We had discussed about that of two important vital microbes, about that of the bacillus and that of the aspergillosis itself. Okay. Next day, we are going to discuss about that of the fermentation, and we are going to pick up, that is a very important topic. We're going to pick up about that of many of the like fermented kind of the products, the principle behind that of the fermentation, and all other short details itself. We are going to see it over here. In the meanwhile, okay, if you are having any doubt, you can put in the chat itself, and like you are already having the contact numbers present over here, the reference numbers present over here, and we can easily like we can communicate over the same itself in that case. Okay, students. So by that, we are ending our today's session. Okay, stay well, stay safe, and eat healthy food always. Do remember, always when you're eating healthy food itself, that will always keep you or will help you in keeping a very much fit and that are fine itself, and you can be saved from any kind of bacillus, aspergillosis, or any kind of the phenomena itself. Thank you, everyone.